Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome back to my channel. Always so happy to find you here. Welcome to any new subscribers. Please be right with you next time, and I hope you stay for a good long while. If you haven't watched the other two videos, I do two videos already on this topic of what I call the entire love cycle. Now, these are just, this is how I view it. The first one was love dharma. The second one was love drama. And today's topic is love trauma. You will find the other two drop down into the description box for your convenience. And also I'll put them in the comments section so you don't have to. Well, I hope you do go to the description box. I'll put my work in there for you. I'm going to the description box. You put it in the comment section. Let's talk about love trauma. There's so much overuse of the word trauma right now. Oh my gosh, people. Everyone says how traumatized they are. Okay, maybe you are. Maybe you are. In my last video, I talked about how so I'll use myself as example because we don't know who would do what a person would do in a certain situation. And I said how, for me, if I'm in an exclusive relationship with this person, and I typically would only want to be in an exclusive relationship. So there's an understanding that if we're exclusive, where that person come from, what's all that kind of thing. And so what I would do in that situation. There are various types of traumas that can come from that when a person leaves you or you leave them because of that, what I call infiltration. And then they realize what they lost in you, what they lost in you, um, and how they can't, what it's a loss that they've had in you. And how that can create some love trauma and love distrust and love regret and love anxiety and love hardship that can be deposited like trauma. Now, no one wants to call it trauma because no one can just pull it out of you, but it is an emotional, it is, in my view, it is like emotionally skateboarding or emotional surfing, where you're processing all these things, all this good that you lost in this person for either just a fling or someone that didn't matter as much, but you still took. All of these things are being rehearsed and thought of and considered as you are adjusting to losing the thing that you didn't want to lose by a choice that you made. I'll put it that way. What also happens with the trauma piece, because that's just the love. That's just well, it's not just, because love is a deep thing. So take out the word just. That's the love piece. If you already had trauma, and I would say that most people have some trauma by which they had life experiences. And while life goes on, they are still learning how to live with that trauma. And that trauma can come out in many forms. This is why they use the word healing, but so maybe it is the word healing, but this is why it's so important to be so softly centered in your soul. Okay. Okay. So even you see my energy just shifted when I say softly centered in your soul, because when I say for myself, I'm a very situated person. So when I say softly centered in your soul, the practice just goes into effect. Okay? The practice just. So having said that, it doesn't mean you don't have trauma. You see this sweet person on my there I'm wearing here. This is my godson. I guess I'll share this. This is my godson, whom I lost in 2004. And so anyway, that is a trauma because that loss is unget overable for me. I want to, but I haven't. And he's like a son to me, godson and nephew, godson and nephew. 20 years and I haven't gotten over the loss of him. Now, I know that that would be some trauma for me, but I've learned to have that trauma in its own container where it doesn't go off into someone else or to something else. I've learned to say, this is something that the healing for me of the loss of that person, so dear to me and so very important to me, has occurred. And I have learn and am learning to be fully in life without the person next to me. I'll put it that way. Instead, they live in my heart. I'll put it that way. Yeah. I've learned to be fully in life without the person next to me, holding my hand, being with me at my dinner table, and all the things I did before with that person, yet he lives in my heart. That's how I've learned to be it, because I cannot let that person go. And I will not. So it can appear to drama. Karma is the next topic. It can appear as trauma because I cannot and I will not let that person go. Okay? So I've had to learn to live fully to the degree that I can without that person. Sometimes that happens in love. Sometimes that type of trauma can happen in love. It can come from a past mate, a past spouse, a past unfulfilled love that you, by your actions, caused. And it's in there. And what happens is the next person that you desire or try to date will have to deal with that in you. It's not the same as the loss of this person. This was not a lover. This was a son. This was a God's son. So when I say trauma, it's in there and it is in a healed position to some degree or another. But what happened in your love category for it to exist in the first place, you bring with you in your next relationship if it's not healthy in the way that I described my health in the loss of this one. That is a healthy acceptance of it. If you don't have a healthy acceptance of it, you're still triggered or tapped by what happened before in that other love relationship, it'll transition into your next one, is what I'm saying. And it's unfair to the next person. They didn't do it. They didn't do whatever caused the trauma that you carry, because that's a real incident for you. That really happened to you. You really felt that way about that. So you have justification for the trauma, but it is not justified to take it to the next person. Actually, it's unfair to that person because they don't get all of you. They didn't cause the trauma. They shouldn't have to incur the trauma. Yet you pounce that on them if the trauma's unfixed, unsettled in some type of acceptance, as I use in this example, you're still carrying it like baggage. So let's give example. Let's say you were married. Let's give example in love. Let's say you were married and that person cheated on you. And it was very traumatizing to you. That actually happened. That's a real thing. It may have caused distrust in that person, but it shouldn't cause distrust in the next one, although it does often. Because now you think, oh my God, this was my spouse, and I never would imagine that they do this. And we had a vow, and oh my gosh, if he or she did it, anybody can. And your mind starts processing, thinking, and you distrust. You go into the next relationship distrusting, or at least with the brow raised, like, and it's unfair to the other person. Now, if the other person brought the same distrust, now there's a lot of collision because you're both full of trauma. And we don't know that when we first start dating a person. That comes after the Dharma that I mentioned in the first video. That comes after the Dharma that I mentioned in the first video. That also comes after the drama that I mentioned in the second video. The trauma comes out after you're extremely comfortable with the person to be yourself and you lash out. And by this time, you have your own drama with them, so they flash back out as you. And so your unfixed trauma, I've seen some people with trauma that has been their entire life. They hated their mother. They're mad at their father. They wish things would have been this. They weren't able to do that. And they don't realize that is trauma within them. And they bring it into a relationship. A relationship with trauma is never healthy. A relationship with truth is healthy. A relationship with balance is healthy. A relationship with partnership is healthy. A relationship with trust is healthy. But not a relationship with baggage, drama, trauma, despair, distrust. That's never healthy. It's never healthy. Now, having said that, based on how healthy you are in your own receptivity, is whether or not trauma is okay with you. Now, what do I mean by that? I have to accept the true understanding that some people's relationships are just based on trauma. They can argue, fuss, and fight and get right back together. And for you, you go, oh, why don't you guys fix that? That's what they love off of. They argue, fuss, and fight, and then go make love like mad bunnies. And then the next day they do that. That relationship is based on that. So we have to all respect the fact that it may not be for you. It may not be for you, but for someone else it is. They are trapped in their trauma. And then they go, I'm tired of fussing and fighting with you. And they go right back to it. They haven't fixed the soul by which they want a love that's different. So they accept the love they have, love the one you're with. Okay? For me, or maybe for you, that's unacceptable. But this is what brings us to love karma. And I've done a few videos on karma. I'll drop them into the description box and into the comment section for you to go back and review. I can say this. Doing more videos on the topic of karma has been the greatest request of mine. But that's not my true topic. My topic is on accountability, behavior, and conduct of a relationship and partnership, just in business as people in general. But karma is a part of that. And so my next video, we'll talk about love karma, and we'll discuss how if you don't fix the trauma, how it would lead to eventual karma, whether it's with the person you're with now or someone in the future. And if it's someone in the future, oh my goodness, hold on to you. Ooh, strap yourself in. That is going to be quite a ride. And I love you. If you've gotten this far, please click like. Please click subscribe. If you make a comment, make sure it's sweet. I'll see you next time. Stay tuned for next video called Love Karma. Take care.